Yes.
Your passport, your visa,
Yeah.
all the papers you printed.
Yeah.
Have you got to print off a Lime Street ticket?
I'll do
Up
that.
there.
I'll do that at the station.
Yeah. Okay, so there's nothing you've forgotten.
No.
That's me, preparing to leave my home in the UK and fly to the other side of the world. Look how nervous I am. And that's me finding clownfish in Indonesia.
That's so cool.
Climbing a volcano.
That's the summit. I'm about the summit.
Exploring Iceland.
Oh my god. Mate, this is insane.
Helping out at a school in Malawi. This is a film about why you need to travel, told through my own life story. At 21 years old, I finally stepped out of my comfort zone, and travel really, truly changed my life. It set me on a path and has shaped who I am today. It's a beautiful, important thing that I believe everyone should experience in their life. I'm a firm believer that travel is the greatest education tool out there. Travel makes the world a better place. It opens your eyes to the world. It takes you outside of your comfort zone, teaches you important life lessons. It gives you the time and space to figure things out, or at least it did for me. That is why I'm so passionate about it, and I hope through the stories I tell and the adventures I share here, I can inspire and motivate others to do the same. I figured that the best way to do this would be to make a film or a series that shows how it's really impacted me over the years. So here we are. This is my story, why you need to travel. Before we get to all the awesome travel things that I'm sure you've maybe seen on this channel already, I need to tell you about me. I need you to understand who I am and where I was coming from when I first started traveling. So we need to go all the way back to when I was growing up. The backstory is simple. I grew up as a kid in a stable family. I was born here in a place called Epsom, just outside of London in the UK. We lived here until I was about 8 years old, and then we moved up to Liverpool. Well, actually it's a place called the Wirral, but nobody really knows what the Wirral is, so it's just easier for me to say Liverpool. I had 2 sisters, very loving parents, bit of a weird obsession with trains. I was doing well in school. I was just a very normal kid, really. I have particularly fond memories of family holidays to places like the Lake District, North Wales. I used to love these little family trips, and at the time as a kid I was obsessed with like Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Indiana Jones, those kind of films. And I remember I was quite an outdoorsy kid. I would be always outdoors playing, imagining that I was Luke Skywalker or Indiana Jones or Legolas in the forest.
Legolas, what your elf eyes see? The Uruks turn northeast. They're taking the hobbits to Isengard.
I think it kind of very early on it shows, like when I think about it now, it shows that I was quite a creative kid. I had a really strong imagination, like very vivid, and that's never gone away. That was always there. Yeah, I had a really very good childhood in many ways.
But then there is always a but. There was a first major milestone in my life, and that was my parents divorcing.
This was around the time I was 15 or 16. I remember my mum telling me, and it's kind of like a wave of shock. I just grabbed my earphones, I ran out the house, I put on a band called The Blackout. They're like a very heavy Welsh rock band, just like and I just ran down the road and I was feeling very numb, and I ended up at one of my best friends, Richard's. I ended up at his house, and I remember getting there and he said, "What's wrong?" You know, he could tell something was up with me, you know. And I said, I just remember saying, like, my parents are getting divorced, and I just burst into tears. It hit me like a freight train. It was like someone had pulled the rug from underneath me. I found this quote whilst I was reading that really resonated with me. It's from Edward Snowden, of all people. I was reading his book, I think it's called Permanent Record. I'll read it to you now, I've got it here. So he says, "I've had friends tell me that you aren't really an adult until you bury a parent or become one yourself. But what no one ever mentions is that for kids of a certain age, divorce is like both of those things happening simultaneously. Suddenly, the invulnerable icons of your childhood are gone. In their stead, if there's anyone at all, is a person even more lost than you are, full of tears and rage, who craves your reassurance that everything will turn out okay. It won't though, at least not for a while." It really sucked, and I didn't realise it at the time, but it did really affect me. I reacted quite badly, and I found that I couldn't be at home. I didn't like being in the house in that situation. So I was out of the house a lot of the time, from the age of like 15 onwards. I was always out with my mates, drinking heavily, partying. It may come as a surprise to hear that I was drinking heavily at such a young age, but in the UK that's, a lot of kids drink from an early age. It's a weird cultural thing here. But yeah, definitely that's part of the reason that I was drinking that heavily and partying so much was because of what I was going through. You know, I was trying to numb that pain to a certain extent, you know. Don't get me wrong, I had a brilliant time. I had I made some amazing memories with all my mates over the years. Some hilarious times, a lot of partying. It was just good fun, and that's, you know, you should do that as a kid. But if I chip away at it and sort of like look underneath what was going on now in hindsight, I was just trying to ease what I was going through. I just wanted to be out of the house, away from my family, because that was causing me pain.
I became quite rudderless, like a ship, sort of getting battered by a storm and not really going anywhere. My grades at school dipped, and I was just trying to get through school. Like, I didn't care anymore. I was just going through the motions. I was just making my way through the system, coasting along, and then it came to a crossroads. It was like high school's ending, so I was looking at it like, what's the next step? And my school was very much like, you will go to uni. Everyone goes to uni, you know, that's the next step, go to university. I was like, okay, well, if everyone else is going to university, then let's go to university. I didn't actually have a clue what I wanted to do in life, but hey, if everyone else is going, let's just go and get into thousands of pounds worth of debt. It's just what everyone's doing, right? Let's just go.
Now,
don't get me wrong. Again, I had an amazing experience at uni. I made friends for life, did a lot of partying, and I learned all about being independent. So there was a lot of good things about university. As I later experienced with travel, living away from home, it gives you all these important life skills. It gives you freedom, first and foremost, the freedom to do what you want. Suddenly you're independent, you're looking after yourself, you know. This was a brand new experience for me. You learn about how to manage, or in my case, not manage your money. You get a job to support yourself, you got to pay your bills, you got to pay rent. All these kind of like adult life skills, it's a great way to learn them. So yeah, there were a lot of priceless life lessons, and I love Leeds as well. Leeds was a great city for me to live in for 3 years. Just a really fun student city.
2, 3.
But again, when it came down to it, I wasn't happy. I wasn't really happy about what I was studying, the system that I was in. It just didn't make sense to me. I chose to study history, by the way. Go figure, I'm now doing this. Yeah, I did history because I'm a history nerd. I really love history. But when it came to seeing it as something I could do as a career, it didn't work well for me. It didn't fit. It didn't make sense in my head. Like, I got a taste of it, you know. It was all about writing and researching. There's a lot of that, and that's not me. I realised at university that I'm not an academic at all. If I reflect and think back now, my earliest interaction with filmmaking came back in school, actually. I used to make short films on a mobile phone with my mates at our lunch break. I had one of those sort of flip up, it's a flippy, slidey Sony Ericsson. Maybe you know what I'm on about. The camera on it was like the quality of a potato. It looked like it'd been filmed on a potato, but did the job at the time, and that allowed me to get creative and make these little videos with my mates and have fun. Yeah, that was my first sort of interaction with filmmaking. That was my creative outlet. It allowed me to get creative and have fun, and I used to really look forward to my lunch times at school because I knew that me and my mates were going to try and make something funny. Yeah, that was my first experience with filmmaking. It was dumb. Like, a lot of the stuff we made was really stupid, but clearly, if I look back now, I was drawn to that stuff, you know. And the same thing happened to me at uni. I ended up going out in Leeds on little sort of walks around the city and taking photos with my iPhone instead of doing my essays and my dissertation. I was posting these photos to Instagram. Back then, in its very early days, I didn't really get Instagram. I didn't understand. I was like, why do we need this when we've already got Facebook? Like, I could just post my photos on Facebook, so why would I need another app? You know, it didn't make sense. This was like 2011, 2012, or whenever Instagram basically first started. I just didn't get it at first. But then one day, whilst on a trip to New York City, one of my favourite cities in the world, it's just so visually inspiring, you know, like the skyscrapers, the skyline, the hustle and bustle, everything about it is like a feast for the eyes. It feels like you've walked in to a movie, you know. So I was taking loads of photos. I had my iPhone 5 at the time. I was just snapping away like everything, and I thought about it, and I was like, you know what, fine, I'm gonna download Instagram and give it a go. So yeah, I started uploading these photos that I'd taken in New York to Instagram.
It was on here that I realised you could search hashtags. So I was tagging my photos hashtag New York, hashtag skyscraper, hashtag Manhattan. And then I clicked on these hashtags and I realised that these were digital streams into which other photographers were uploading their work. I started to find all of these really talented photographers and creators who I followed, and then I was exposed to their work, which started to inspire and motivate me. And just as I was finding other people were finding me. Random strangers from around the world were commenting on my photos and liking them. For the first time in my life, I was receiving validation and positive feedback from other people about creative work that I had made. And that was amazing. Like, that was a really nice feeling. As creatives, I think whether we admit it or not, we are always looking for something like that. It makes us feel good, you know? So I was hooked. Over the final 2 years at university, I started taking photos on my iPhone and really fell in love with it. I remember this, like I would be sat in my room in Leeds. I was supposed to be doing this dissertation, this hideous long piece of writing, like 12,000 words. I was supposed to be doing that, but it was something I realised I didn't want to do. So instead of sitting there and writing it, as I should have done, I would end up leaving the house and going off on these walks around the city with my phone and just taking photos, just experimenting. And I realised now this was me subconsciously telling myself, this is what you want to be doing. There was a reason that I used to reenact all those Star Wars films as a kid. My imagination could come up with the most incredible stories and visions. I wasn't an academic, I was a creative.
So I reached this point where I was stuck. I was bored, I wasn't really going anywhere, I was drinking a lot, I was smoking weed a lot. I hope my family don't watch this. But that's the truth, you know. I was unhappy and I started asking myself, okay, like what now? Like, am I supposed to just keep going through the motions here? Like, what's the end goal, you know? Am I just supposed to graduate and then get a dead-end job that I don't really enjoy just to get into a cycle of paying bills and rents? That when I started to think about it, that really terrified me, actually. Surely there was more to life than that. I started asking these questions.
It's around the same time as I was coming to the end of university that I started watching videos on YouTube. I found some creators called Ben Brown and Casey Neistat, and it gave me this insane urge to travel. They made me realise, they confirmed actually, that there was so much more to life than what I was currently doing.
Through watching these guys, they're people I now see as like online mentors, even though I've never met them. Not only was I learning a lot about the basics of storytelling and the basics of filmmaking, they made me realise that actually you could do this as a full-time job. You know, you could get paid to do this, and you could also get paid to travel the world and do this. This blew my mind. I always say to everyone I meet that it's funny how university always helps you figure out what you want to do, because even if you don't end up doing anything to do with the subject that you studied, it helps you make those big life choices and big decisions, because it forces you to question, you know, what's next? Where am I going here? And for the first time I did that, and it led me down a really interesting path.
I want to go to Australia.
And somehow I graduated with a 2-1. To this day I don't really know how I managed that. But yeah, I graduated, and now...
It's actually pretty big.
Now I had this fixed goal, which was weird because for so many years, maybe never in my life before had I been so fixed on a goal, you know? Suddenly I had this thing that I really wanted so bad. It was a really strange feeling for me to be so determined about getting something and wanting something so much. I'd never had this feeling before, and it felt good. I wanted to go traveling. I wanted to go take photos, I wanted to make videos, I wanted to tell stories. I just wanted to go travel and see the world and share the world through my creativity. To do that, I had to save, and save fast.
Okay, it's 5 AM on Christmas morning and I'm walking home. I've just finished the Christmas Eve shift on the bar, serving drinks to everyone non-stop since 6 PM. And this has been my life for pretty much the past 6 months.
I wanna drown inside this. I wanna drown inside this. Go down an eye, like I captain. I ain't never had a vibe this vibrant. Then but also shiny with that 3-eye vision. Take this moment, I'ma die inside.
I got a really shit job that I hated. It was in a pub, and yeah, I basically just put a sander to my face and grinded it out for 6 months to save up and go to Australia.
It's at points like this I really question if what I'm doing is worth it, and you're probably questioning like, why are you doing this? And the truth is, it is really hard not to quit when you're stuck in a crappy job and you're serving drinks to all your mates on the other side of the bar. It's Christmas Eve, they're having a great time and you're not. It really sucks so bad.
Dealing with drunk people, I'm sure if there's anybody out there who's done bar work before, you know what I'm on about. It's a terrible experience. Drunk people are effectively massive babies. You know, they lose the ability to walk, they lose the ability to talk, they smell, they throw up, they shout, they misbehave. It is a really difficult thing to work a bar job. So if there's anyone out there watching this who's working a bar right now, I respect you a lot. It was something I hated. Like I hated it so much, I can't tell you. But I was willing to go through all of that because I had this goal that I needed to save. I needed to get that money and get out of there.
So work ended up being my number one priority. I put everything to one side and just started working as many hours as I could, as many hours through the week, as many shifts. And it was every single bit as bad as I thought it was going to be. It was really tough. But slowly the savings started creeping up. I didn't have much time to do anything else. I was just working. It was just work and sleep, especially over Christmas. Like, if there's one thing I can tell you, do not work a bar over Christmas. Just don't even think about it. It's the worst thing. But somehow I did it. I'm still alive.
It was good for me actually, because to see all those drunk people there night in, night out, for me, because I was sober, to see them drunk, it changed me, you know. It kind of opened my eyes and I was like, wait, am I like this when I'm drunk? And the answer is yeah. So that changed me for the better. It was a good thing, you know. I stopped drinking, and eventually, just after a year from graduating, I was ready. As I started my travels, I started writing blog posts, and there was the very first one I wrote. It was called Right Now, and I think it works well for me to read it to you now, because it gives you a direct insight into what I was thinking at this moment in time. So I'm gonna read it. It's called Right Now. My name is Josh Edwards. At the time of writing this, early 2016, I'm a 22-year-old history graduate based on the Wirral, UK. I'm very keen on photography, filmmaking and travel, and I'm going to go ahead and tick all the horrible cliche boxes here. But everything I say is honestly true. I'm at that stage where I just want to travel. I need to see everything. The list of places to go grows longer by the day. I finished university a few months ago and I have no plans to start a career yet. I want to live. I'm young and I have no commitments. The perfect time is right now. There's a natural gap in between what has already been and what is to come. In my mind, there won't ever be a better opportunity for me to travel and explore the world than right now. It makes sense to take flight and go, right now. There's got to be a reason so many have done, are doing, and will continue to do it, apart from the god-awful expression of finding myself. But the plan is to be out there in Australia for 2 years on a working holiday visa, to see and explore everything and feed my insane hunger for adventure. There's a massive itinerary that needs ticking off and I cannot wait. On hearing these plans, so many people, both older and of a similar age, have said to me, I really wish I'd done that. That sounds amazing, I wish I could do that. Make sure you do it, Josh. And that right there, regrets. I don't want to have any regrets. I want to look back and be happy with what I've achieved. I want to have some epic memories and stories to tell. When I'm on my deathbed, I don't want to be thinking, I really wish I'd done that. I want to be wincing as I chuckle to myself thinking, Christ, that was brilliant. The way I see it, and please don't take any offence as it's just my own personal view of things, too many people get caught up in a loathsome, crappy, mundane cycle. Slowly progress out of education, get an okay job, get a house, find a partner, start a family, support family and house, pay bills, and that's life complete apparently. I can't help thinking, wait, what? Is that it? Before you know it, you're looking back on the last 10 years thinking, where the hell has all that time just gone? And where am I now? I have to ask, are people really happy with that? If they are, then good. That's good for them, but personally, I honestly couldn't think of anything worse. I don't want to be that guy, but I did warn you I was going to tick all the cliche boxes here. I want to, and I need to, do more. I've realised I'm at my happiest when indulging in photography and filmmaking, travelling and exploring somewhere. So why would I do anything else apart from what makes me happy? Life is meant to be enjoyed and embraced. You're not living unless you're constantly challenging yourself and moving forward. That was me at age 22, flying out of the UK. Why would I do anything else apart from what makes me happy? That one really sticks with me.